welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday video. I'm Melissa Muir. In this video segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about the flex shaft attachment of the hammer handpiece. Now in my case, I have a Foredom, but there are other makers for that. But again, we're just going to kind of concentrate more on the Foredom brand for this. I want to show you a little bit about how I use it in my own studio. Now, big old disclaimer, very first thing, I am not one that uses the hammer handpiece to do a lot of fancy settings. My skill levels aren't quite there yet, but I figured I would at least show you how I use this in my studio to set stones in a bezel and also to do a little bit of texturing. So let's talk a little bit about the different attachments that you can use, or the different accessories and the points that you can use with the hammer handpiece, and I'll tell you how I use that. Now, like I said before, the flex shaft that I have in my studio is a Foredom, and so in this case, each of my hand pieces are also genuine Foredom products as well to go along with that. That makes it kind of nice because it's pretty versatile. All I have to do is swap out a handpiece. So this is a pretty typical one that you might find with most Foredoms. This is a number 30 handpiece. It has an adjustable chuck, which means that the mandrels that are on the different accessories can be swapped out, and it doesn't matter the size because it will close down on whatever size you need for that. The next one that I use quite a bit is a quick change handpiece. These only accept 3/32 mandrels. So what you would do here is just push it in, pull out your option or your item, pop the new one in, but again, they have to have that 3/32 mandrel in order for that to work. But the one that we really want to talk about today is this. This is a hammer handpiece. Now mine has a duplex spring. Some of these also come with duplex springs, but they are a little bit more expensive. So right now the one that I have though for the hammer handpiece has the duplex spring. What this does is it allows me to alleviate some of the pressure that might be on my hand as I am going in to set a stone, because you have this flexibility here rather than the shaft always being stiff. So there are benefits to that. Anytime you have the adjustable or this duplex spring on here, it is going to increase the price of your item anywhere from like $15 to $30. Maybe a little bit more just off the top of my head. But anyway, it's something to kind of consider and to look at, especially if you're going to be doing quite a bit of work with these. Now, the other thing that's kind of nice with these hammer hand pieces is there are a number of additional bits or anvil points that you can purchase for this. Now, one of the things that I did was there was this available, and it has 6 different heads in it, and what you can do is alter these. Now, a lot of people don't realize that they can actually alter these points, and that is what they are meant to do. You don't want to necessarily just keep them as they are, because like some cases in this one, you know, it's circle, it's round, and it's completely flat with sharp edges, and that may not be what you want for your piece, but it might be. So don't be afraid to come in and alter these. Here's one that I have ground down quite a bit, and I use this one for different types of thick bezels, thick bezel settings. The one that I use most often for doing some of my bezel setting happens to be this one, and it's a little bit rounded here at the top, along the top edge, but it was flat. And so what I've done is I've used files and also my jewel tool, but you can also use a polishing arbor, other attachments on your flex shaft to kind of round this out and make it so that it's nice and has a high polish. And this way I can easily create just kind of a silky smooth rim around my bezels as I'm setting that. To swap these out, all you have to do is just unscrew these. Now sometimes you can screw it in kind of tight. There is a little mandrel or a little bar that comes with the flex shaft, and what you can do is insert that into the bit and then give a little bit of pressure so you've got some torque there, and then you can unscrew this, take the next one and screw it into place. And I don't really usually find that I have to use the little bar here to tighten it, but if you feel like you do need to have some extra leverage, that's the way to do this. One of the things that you need to be aware of is that when you use a handpiece, especially the hammer handpiece, you want to make certain that you don't go so fast that you ruin this. So another item that you can have, and this is back here on my bench, but another item you can have is a controller. And what that controller allows you to do is to increase or decrease the speed of which your hammer handpiece will function. And that is something that you may want to consider. They run anywhere from, I think, like $80 to $90. So not that big of an investment, especially when you're buying a handpiece that's anywhere between $100 and $150. To get this set up, what I'm going to do is here I've got my flex shaft. Right now there's no handpiece attached to this. I'm going to press on the foot pedal just a little bit to get this going. And what that will do is it's going to allow this little key right here on the flex shaft to line up with the groove inside of my handpiece and allow me to seat that. And then once I've got that into place, I've clicked it into place, and now I need to adjust the speed of my hammer handpiece. That's a little faster than what I would like to be doing in this particular video, so I'm going to use that controller box just to decrease the speed. Okay, so now I'm going to be going a little bit slower than what I think some people do when they're setting stones, but it is a learning curve and you'll just get used to this the more you use it. So here I've created a pair of earrings, and it's an asymmetrical pair of earrings, so they're not exactly the same, but they do use the same components. And in this case, I'm going to use these kyanite cabs and set them into the bezels that I have already created. You'll also notice that I have a wire in here, and that is so that I can raise my stone just a little bit and not have it sit too low. When I go to set this, what I want to do is kind of work a northeast, southwest type of position, always crossing to the opposite side of the stone. Now I know it's going to be a little bit difficult for you guys to see this because in this case my stone is fairly small, so I'm going to have to put my finger on this. I'll try to do what I can to make sure you guys can see this, but it will be a little bit difficult. So what I'm going to do is just very gently coax the bezel down onto my stone. And then I'm going to flip it around and work on the opposite edge of this. And now I'm going to do the other two sides. Same way. Okay. At this point, my bezel kind of looks like it's been squared. I don't know if that comes across in the video or not. But now I have these open points where I did not use the hammer hand piece yet. So I'm going to hit each of those kind of air pockets, and again working opposite sides of the stone as I go. Now I'm being very, very careful to only hit just the outside edge of that bezel. At this point, I'm going to begin to work my entire way around the stone. I want to be cautious not to overdo this, or I will stretch that metal and there's no way I'll ever get it to lay down onto my stone properly. Okay. And then I just want to take a look and make sure the stone is set properly in here. And what I do now is once I've got this all done, and you can see all around this edge, everything is laid down smoothly to the point where I want it. My stone is now secure. So now I go back to the traditional methods that I've used before. I'm going to use my burnisher just to kind of lay everything back down, do my final polish, and I'm good to go. Now, in addition to using my hammer handpiece to set my stone, there are times where I will use the hammer handpiece to impart a texture. So on this piece you can kind of see after I've soldered in this wire here, I used my hammer handpiece to give kind of like a planished texture into the center of that. And this is totally possible with these finer points of the hammer handpiece. So there's two of them that I like to use. You can see that this one right here is a little bit more rounded, and whereas this point comes to a really, really sharp, fine point. So it can like poke your right into your finger, so be careful with that one. But I'll show you really quickly how I use this rounded one. So again, I'm going to come in here, swap out the bit, so this just untwists. Take your next one, twist it in. Now on my handpiece, this is the one that likes to kind of come loose, and that's really annoying when I need some control. So I'm just going to use that little bar here to give it an extra tight little budge there. And then what I do is I like to make sure I've got like a nice steel surface, and I just kind of work in a random movement, but I also want to make certain that I'm making good contact between my hammer handpiece, the metal, and the steel block that I'm hammering on. Okay, so here you can kind of see that texture that I was able to get. So here I've done a few other little things playing around, but it gives you kind of an idea of what can be done with the hammer handpiece. So hopefully that answers some of the questions that you guys have had for the hammer handpiece. And again, it gives you kind of a glimpse of how I use it in my own work and my own pieces. Now, if you would like to see these up close and personal, try a few of them out. I will be at the Tucson show in 2018 at Colors of the Stone and To Be True Blue show. I am going to be in booth 180. I will have tons of demos and lots of tools so that you guys can try them out, come and see them up close and personal, and see me, of course. And if you'd like to purchase, I can help you out with that as well. So make sure you drop me a comment if you have any other questions, and I'll see you guys next time.